I found out my wife, 28 F. Frankler, was cheating on me, 29 M, with my brother, and no one believed me until it was too late. Throwaway for obvious reasons. The first thing everyone remembers is that I ruined Thanksgiving. That morning, I told my wife I didn't want my brother in our house anymore. I didn't yell, I didn't explain. I just said that if he came, I would leave. She stared at me like I'd insulted her family dog. Within an hour, my phone was blowing up. My mom telling me I was being cruel. My dad asking what was wrong with me. My brother sending a text that just said, "Relax." No one asked why. They'd already decided I was the problem. What made it worse was that 3 weeks earlier, I'd still trusted my wife completely. She'd started acting careful. Not distant, not cold, careful. Her phone never left her hand, but she wasn't scrolling. She angled it away from me like it was muscle memory. She'd say she was running errands and come back freshly showered. When I asked if something was wrong, she wrapped her arms around me and said I was her safe place. I wanted that to be true. One night, I grabbed her phone to make a business call because mine was dead at the time, and a message popped up from a contact saved as E. Just one sentence. "I miss you already." It shouldn't have meant anything, but my chest tightened in a way I couldn't ignore. I opened the conversation. I kept telling myself I was about to find something that hurt but made sense. Some random guy, maybe an emotional affair, something painful but survivable. Instead, I saw photos taken in my living room. Inside jokes I'd heard before but never questioned. And then a picture that erased every ounce of denial I had left. My brother's wrist, tattoo and all, resting on my wife's thigh. I sat there for a long time before I confronted her. When I finally did, she didn't scream or deny it. She just made a slight smile, chuckled, and said, "Well, I don't have to deal with you anymore." She told me it had been going on for over a year. She said it like it was weather, like it had just rolled in one day and stayed. What broke me wasn't even the betrayal. It was how calm she was when she explained that Evan understood her in ways I didn't, that he listened, that I'd been emotionally absent without realizing it. She didn't ask me to stay. She talked about the future like I wasn't in it anymore. I left that night with a duffel bag and didn't tell anyone why. Not my parents, not my friends, not even my brother, especially not him. Instead, I watched. I documented messages. I noted dates. I installed cameras in the house I legally owned and forced myself to see what I already knew was happening. My brother walking in like he belonged there. My wife laughing the way she used to laugh with me. The ease of it all hurt more than the sex ever could. What I didn't expect to learn was that they'd been telling a story about me, that I was cold, that I was unstable, that my wife was scared of upsetting me. Suddenly, the looks I'd been getting from my family made sense. I wasn't just being difficult. I was the villain in a story I didn't know was being told. When they finally decided to be honest, they framed it like they were doing me a favor. They said they were in love, that they wanted to handle things with maturity and respect. My brother actually thanked me for being understanding. I didn't argue. I just nodded and suggested we still host Thanksgiving. Closure, I said. One last normal moment. They agreed. Everyone came. My parents, aunts, cousins. Laughter filled the house, no longer felt welcome in. When it was time to eat, I stood up and said I wanted to share something before dinner. I connected my phone to the TV. No dramatic speech, just evidence. Messages, photos, dates, videos, my brother's voice, my wife's laugh. The type of evidence which would crush their made-up story once and for all. A year of lies laid out in silence. My mother covered her mouth. My father didn't look at anyone. My brother tried to speak and couldn't finish a sentence.
My wife slid out of her chair and hit the floor. I walked out before anyone could ask me to explain. The divorce was brutal but clean. The prenup held. The house went to me, then I sold it. My wife moved in with Evan. It lasted 3 months before he walked away, apparently shocked that someone capable of betrayal might betray him too. My family doesn't talk about my brother anymore. They talk to me carefully, like someone who survived something contagious, immoved. I started therapy. I learned how quiet life can be when you're no longer bracing for the next lie. I met someone later, unexpectedly. She doesn't flinch when I ask questions. She doesn't treat transparency like a burden. When I told her the worst thing that ever happened to me, she didn't try to minimize it or fix it. She just listened. The strangest part is this. Losing my wife and my brother felt like the end of my life at the time. But standing here now, it feels more like the moment I finally stopped living in a story someone else was writing for me. And for the first time, I trust the quiet. Tiffu by shaving my beard. So I have had a beard for the past 6 years. Sometimes long, sometimes short, sometimes mustache with stubble, but I've always had some kind of facial hair. I saw some videos online of guys shaving and seeing their partner's reactions, so I thought it'd be funny to give it a go. My partner and I have been together for 3 years, so she's only known me with a beard. Last night, I felt the urge to shave it off. I get that sometimes. Either it's itchy or the mustache is getting too long. Anyway, my razor's broken, so I used her razor to do a clean shave, and went downstairs. I told her to close her eyes and gave her a kiss. I expected shock, maybe her covering her eyes in disbelief, but what I got was her almost disgusted. She refused to look at me, closed her eyes, and spent 10 minutes asking why I did it. She said she was going to be sick and told me to grow it back. I said to kiss the man she loves, and she pulls up a photo of me with a beard and kisses her phone, laughing. I tried to laugh it off, but I felt deeply hurt. I've always thought I was a handsome guy, but seeing her reaction made me feel like shit. I said my feelings were hurt and wanted to head upstairs. She then started to cry and say she was so sorry and she didn't mean it. So instead of a funny OMG moment, I feel like an abomination, and she's crying and trying not to look at me. We've made up now, had a cuddle, and talked about what happened. Now I've got to wait a week for it to grow back. Tiffu, my shaving, my wife being pregnant. Tiffu, by being a wife groomer during pregnancy. So my wife and I celebrated our 5-year wedding anniversary. We were recalling really weird and wacky memories during our marriage. Warning, some TMI info ahead. When we got married, my wife was 6 months pregnant. Not to be TMI, but I often used to shave my wife's legs in bits because she couldn't reach. Nothing sexual about it, just purely functional. So around 8 months into the pregnancy, my wife asked me to shave her bits as it was the Amazon jungle down there. So because of her bump, she would stand over me, spread, and I would shave the areas. I used an electric razor. I didn't shave all the way, just trimmed it down. So during one of these sessions, my wife sneezed and lightly peed on me. We both burst out laughing. I toweled myself and kept going. At this point, I had finished her legs and had finished her top right side and was working my way to the left. Think like painting a fall, except I'm shaving. As I started again, my wife froze and gasped. Before I could move, her water burst onto my face and all over my chest. We froze, screamed, and panicked. Literally had a fast rinse in the shower, grabbed the baby bag, and we raced to the hospital. A few hours later, our son was born, all good and healthy. The gynecologist chuckled and said, "Nice grooming. It's like a before and after foo."